Das here, and I welcome you to today's Gita Made Easy session, chapter number 5, entitled Karma Yoga Action in Krishna Consciousness. So, by the title itself, we can understand that Lord Krishna is going to give us a lot of practical advice how we can practice spiritual life in day to day. So, one interesting thing you will notice that Arjun, in the beginning, we saw in chapter 1 that he was refusing to fight. He is a military man. He was refusing to do his duty. But after he heard Bhagavad Gita, he did not run away from his duty. In fact, he went ahead and fought like one of the most valiant fighters in Mahabharata. He did not take sannyas. He fought and he became victorious, and he became so famous that even after 5,000 years, we know about him, which is just astounding. So, how Krishna consciousness is practical, it can be practiced without changing much in our lives. We can continue to take care of our families, our parents, our children. We can continue to do our jobs in offices, manage our businesses, continue with our studies. But with this knowledge, we can transform ourselves in our current situation. So that is the beauty, that is the greatness of Krishna consciousness. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because they have not received this knowledge through proper source. There is the knowledge is misunderstood. So we will go ahead and look at what Krishna has to say. And before we continue, I'll offer my respectful obeisances to my preeminent Siksha Guru, Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. So let's move ahead. These are the key learnings of chapter 5. 1, we will be discussing about the ABCD. You may say, well, I learned that many years back when I was in kindergarten, or even before that. My parents taught me A, B, C, D. A for apple, B for bat, C for cat, D for dog. No, we are talking about ABCD of spiritual life, duties towards my soul. Then second thing that we are going to see today is dharma. A lot of people talk about dharma. What do we do? How do we practice dharma? Today we'll discuss 4 pillars of dharma. If we protect dharma, dharma will protect us. If we break it, dharma will break us. Right? These are laws of nature which we must be following them. And then next question, again very relevant to each one of us. Why I should stop blaming God for what's wrong in my life? Usually it's the easiest escape. Anything goes wrong in my life, who's the first person to blame? God. Why is God doing this to me? Why is God doing this to others? And finally, this chapter ends with one of the most amazing verses, a gem of a verse, which talks about the ultimate peace formula. So let's jump in and look at the 5 sections of this chapter 5. So the first section is be like a lotus leaf. So Krishna gives 2 powerful analogies or examples. The first example is giving of a lotus leaf, how we can be like a lotus leaf, which means how do we live in this life without being touched by our environment, surrounding, without getting disturbed with all that. So how can we balance our material duties, our spiritual duties, and not be disturbed by what is happening around us? Like lotus leaf is untouched by water, and similarly we remain undisturbed. So what are those things? How can we do that? So we look that in the section from verse 1 to 12, and then the next section is about 3 doers. This is an astounding knowledge which most of us may not be even aware unless we read Bhagavad Gita, that when I do an activity, when I lift an object, or when I see an object or any activity that I do, there are 3 entities involved, the 3 doers, and that we'll see from verse number 13 to 16. And when we acquire this knowledge of the 3 doers, what is the transformation that comes into me? Does my perspective change? How does my vision of this world changes, the equal vision? And that is from verse 17 to 26. Then Krishna gives a very peak preview into Ashtanga Yoga, just two verses, 27 and 28, because chapter 6 is all about that. We may not be spending much time here. And then the last comes the peace formula. This is the verse I was talking about, the gem of the verse, where Krishna defines himself. He defines God, and he says, if you know this definition, if you understand this definition, peace will prevail. That's the verse number 29. So we will move on into the first section, be like a lotus leaf. That's the first 12 verses. And yes, I'm sure you would have noticed this lotus leaf, some or the other time in your life. If you place even a drop of water on it, it will not stick to the leaf. It will roll off. And the beauty is that the leaf does not grow in some dry area. It is always in a wet area. It grows in water. So what can we learn from that? What is Krishna trying to tell from this verse? We'll read the verse, read the translation, and we will know. Brahmane adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate na sapapena padmapatram evambhasa. One who performs his duty without attachment. Number one who performs his duty without attachment. 2, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful actions, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So we need to understand very, very simple thing. Any intelligent man would like to have a strategy of life where the sufferings are minimized and happiness is maximized. So here Krishna is talking about that if we want to minimize suffering, we have to minimize sin. And if you want to minimize sin, this is the way. What? That I perform my duty, but I perform it without attachment. I perform it in a detached way. And whatever results I get, for example, if I'm an excellent student and I get great marks, so usually that leads to a lot of pride. But here Krishna is saying, surrender those results unto me, which means engage that great marks in Krishna's service. How? We will see. Or we get got profit in business, or we get salaries. So that should be used in Krishna's service, right? We should give charity, and we should support Krishna conscious efforts, right? So that is how we surrender the results unto the Supreme Lord. We understand that it actually belongs to the Supreme Lord, because whatever we have, right, ultimately it comes from Krishna's energy. So this is very interesting. In beginning, Arjuna hated fighting. If you see the first chapter, Arjuna says, I will not fight. He kept his Gandiva. His body was reeling with different symptoms of stress. And he was very afraid that by killing my own kinsmen, I will incur sin. And then what happened? He heard Bhagavad Gita and he gave up that hatred. And because Krishna wanted him to fight, Arjuna fought. Arjuna was not fighting after listening to Bhagavad Gita with any material motive. There was only one reason why he fought, because Krishna had asked him to. So whether we like our duty or not, if we are able to do our duty for Krishna's sake, then we will become like a lotus leaf. So Krishna talks about the 3-step process. Number 1 is do your duty without attachment. So it is very normal and very common that our nature is to be attached. Either we are attached to this or that. We are attached to something. Some of us are attached to, some relations. Some of us are attached to objects. So our nature is to be attached. If we are attached to the world around us, it will lead to suffering, right? Because relationships are temporary. Relationships are not perfect. The objects also have a time frame. So our attachment will ultimately sooner or later break, right? So if we are attached to the world around us, we will suffer. But if we are attached to Krishna and also realize this material world has a connection with Krishna, so I must use whatever is under my care in Krishna's service, because it is energy of the Lord, then a natural detachment will arise in our heart. And in that mood, if I do my duty, then everything is just fine. So there are duties towards our body. We understand, we saw that in the second chapter, we have been talking about in the third and the fourth, and we are continuing that discussion because it's very important. So we have duties towards our body, we have duties towards the bodies of our family members, but also we have duties towards our soul and their soul. So if you will see, the duties towards the body are actually secondary. Duties towards the soul are primary, because that is the real me. Now I am wearing this cloth. Of course, this cloth has to be washed, it has to be ironed, it has to be in good shape. But is my own self as important as this cloth? No. The preservation of my body becomes more important. So similarly, this body is like an external dress. It has to be cared for, but at that cost of taking care of the external body, I cannot neglect my soul. So for example, the father may be busy with job, with work, the mother may be taking care of the household, but if the child falls sick, both of them, they leave everything apart and they take care of the child. So similarly, when we read Bhagavad Gita, we realize that all of our life we have been neglecting this soul and we have not been nourishing it, right? So that's why taking care of the soul, the duties towards the soul, becomes of prime importance. So that is about doing the duty without attachment. We offer the results to the Supreme Lord. We will look at that as well. And finally, there is some amount of sense control is also required. If the senses are not under control, then they will drag us into different directions, and then we cannot really do the first two steps. So if Krishna is talking about these three steps, if we follow them, we will be like a lotus leaf, living in our current situation and surrounding, and yet not being disturbed, which means we'll have a very smooth sailing in our life. So duties towards the soul, because duties towards the body we have already heard and we are already very expert, we have been doing so many things, but what about the duties towards the soul? So this ABCD, as I was talking about, this is rewriting your destiny. These alphabets have the potency with which you can rewrite your destiny. So first A is association of devotees. Now all of us know, I have been told by my parents, and they were always very watchful, with whom do I associate, who's my friend, with whom I'm spending so much of time, right? So why? Because with whom I will associate, my character, my values, my thought process, even my activities will be very gravely and greatly influenced by that person. So if we take association of devotees and bona fide devotees who come in proper Guru Shishya Parampara, then their character is saintly, they have spiritual values, their thought process is very neat and clean, their thought process is imbued with devotion to Krishna, their activities are pure. And if I associate with them, same influence will come to my character. My values will become really, they will evolve. Those spiritual values I will be able to inculcate. My thought process will become straightforward. My activities will become purified. So that's why association of devotees is paramount. If I want to be a good athlete, I have to be with good athletes, and then I will have that fire and I'll have that enthusiasm to continue on that path. If I want to be a drunkard, very easy, be with a drunkard and soon we'll have all the bad habits of that fellow. If I want to be saintly, I have to associate with saintly people. And second, B refers to books or scriptures, and specifically Bhagavad Gita as it is. As I was telling you, the Vedic knowledge is summarized in the Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita is considered to be the essence of all the Upanishads. So these 700 verses are very valuable. In fact, the specific position of Bhagavad Gita is that whatever knowledge you will find elsewhere is contained in Bhagavad Gita, and what you find in Bhagavad Gita, you may not find it elsewhere. So we are very fortunate. We have an authorized edition. Bhagavad Gita as it is the largest read edition in the world. More than 200 million copies in print in more than 100 languages. There are people reading this Bhagavad Gita as it is on all the 6 continents. There are news of devotees, stories of devotees from all cultural backgrounds, from all religious backgrounds, who have taken advantage and have become devotees and surrender to Krishna. So continuing with duties towards my soul, next is C. So we will see C. C is for chanting, and if you would notice that last few sessions we have been talking about chanting because it is so important. In Kali Yuga, Lord himself appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to personally teach this method. This is the Yuga Dharma. Harer Nam, Harer Nam, Harer Nam Eva Kevalam. Kalau nasteva, 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 gatir anyatha. In this age of Kali, there is no other way, no other way, no other way other than to chant Lord Hari's name, Lord Hari's name, Lord Hari's name. This beautiful verse, you will notice that there is so many repetitions, there is thrice. It is repeated, Lord Hari's name should be chanted in age of Kali and there is no other way. So that is how important chanting is. And you would notice that there is a process of chanting. First we chant Panch Tattva mantra, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakt Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we chant Panchtattva mantra and then we begin to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It is mentioned as Maha Mantra, which means it is the essence of all the mantras. If you notice, this Maha Mantra is also composed of Lord's holy names. Lord and his name are non-different. So when we chant Krishna, when we chant Ram, this is non-different from the Lord, and that's why this is the Maha Mantra for the age of Kali, and that's why there is so much of emphasis on chanting the holy name. It is the hygiene for the mind, for the body, for the soul. The whole existence becomes purified. And if you notice, there are two words which are written below chanting. One is Kleshagni and the other is Shubhda. Kleshagni means Klesh Agni. There are two words. Kleshas mean the impurities in us, the anarthas in us, the bad qualities in us, they are burnt, Kleshagni, and we have Shubhada, means that auspiciousness arises. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, all the bad goes away from us and all auspiciousness arrives in our life. So that is the C. We are still learning the basic alphabets of spiritual life. Next in line is D. D for diet. Diet means what we put in our mouth, what we eat. And that has a huge implication of our consciousness. The food, if we eat cooked by somebody who loves us, has a different impact on our consciousness than one who does not. And therefore, diet is very important. And can you imagine if we eat food which is spiritualized, which is offered to the Lord first? Now, we need to understand that all food comes from nature and nature comes from the Supreme Lord. And therefore, it is Lord himself who supplies all this food stuff. So if not out of love, at least out of gratitude, we should offer this food to the Lord first as an act of gratitude that Lord, you have given us this food for our subsistence, and now I want to offer it back to you as a token of gratitude. And when I offer that food, it becomes spiritualized. Lord accepts it and gives it back as his mercy. So when we eat prasad, when we consume it, our whole consciousness becomes spiritualized. In fact, when Srila Prabhupada went to Western countries and when he began the movement, the Hare Krishna movement, so prasadam played such an important role because those people in the West, they did not know the blue boy, Krishna. They did not know the golden girl, Radha. They did not know anything about the Vedic literature, Vedic scriptures, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They had no idea. So Prabhupada, apart from conducting classes, doing the Harinam Sankirtan, Prabhupada laid so much emphasis on prasadam, and so many devotees attribute their beginning of spiritual life to prasad. So that is how important it is, and that's how we come to the point of A, B, C and D. These are the duties towards the soul, and my request is that you are watching this, and in the comment below, I want you to write down which of these ABCD would you like to introduce in your life. My suggestion is you introduce all the four. It does not really take a lot of time. A for association, just some time you associate with devotees. If you read Bhagavad Gita as it is, one, scriptures are taken care because you're studying Bhagavad Gita, the book, the B for book. And also Srila Prabhupada has written extensive purports to associate with him. A and B is taken care. And then you can be part of some regular classes like this. And then come C, chanting. So take some time out. If you chant 108 times of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it does not take even 10 minutes. That's all from your time. So C for chanting, D for diet, whatever you cook, like dal, sabji, chapati, sambar, whatever, which is vegetarian without onion, garlic, offer it to the Lord. Put a tulsi leaf, request the Lord to accept as a humble offering. So these are the 4 fundamental beginning points of spiritual life, and I request you to take it very seriously, because we are in the process of rewriting our destiny. The whole future of not only this life but all our future lives is beginning to change, and we have to implement these. So I want you to write down in the comments section that what are the things that you're planning to implement. So that's very important. I'll read each one of your comments. So next we see a beautiful life lesson. Spiritual life will drive away sinful life automatically, as both are incompatible. Like, for example, there is darkness of the night, nothing can be seen, but when sun rises, naturally everything becomes visible. Sun drives away that darkness of the night. Similarly, if we introduce Krishna in our life through ABCD, if we invite Krishna in our existence, in our being, in our consciousness, in our mind, in our intelligence, then naturally all the sinful tendencies will go away, like the darkness when the sun rises. Or when the right medicine is taken, the disease is taken away. Similarly, when we become serious in our spiritual life, all we have to do is become sincere, and then everything else is taken care. So next we were talking about how to perform our duties. So we saw there are 2 duties towards the body and the soul. And next comes that we should offer results to the Lord and develop natural detachment. So I was talking about that as a student, if I have scored very well, and I was saying that we will see that how it can be used in Krishna's service. Well, if you are a devotee, you are chanting, you are studying Bhagavad Gita, one thing that will happen is that your consciousness will become clean. One of the biggest problems with students that they face is distraction, whether it is the games, the digital games that they play, or it is porn. Porn is a huge problem among the youth, or it is depression. The suicide rate in India is highest among the student category, that young age. So that is the highest, where the highest rate of suicide. So all that we ourselves naturally protect if we take up Krishna consciousness. It clears our mind, and then we get greater concentration. We can focus and concentrate on our studies. When we play, we play. When we study, we study. So that kind of clarity comes to us. And also, if you get good marks, then other students will definitely be attracted to you, will ask you, and then you can always say, well, my secret of my success is Bhagavad Gita. Success of my secret is the mantra meditation, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that way you also become an instrument in the hands of the Lord. Like Arjun is an instrument on the battlefield of Mahabharata, and he won this war on the instructions of the Lord to please him. Similarly, we also assist others to follow this great teachings of Lord Krishna. So that is how we can offer the results to the Lord. Like it's a cashier mentality. So some of us would have experience of a cashier in a bank. So what cashier does is he, of course, dispenses cash, but there's a lot of cash also he may receive. And what happens is he's completely detached with that cash. So much, lakhs and lakhs of rupees he may collect, but it is not his money. He knows very clearly it is somebody else's money, it is bank's money, whatever. So he is completely detached from this. So if we have that cashier mentality, so we offer the results to the Lord, we become naturally detached. And also, wealth is also called Lakshmi Devi, and Lakshmi is engaged in whose service? In Vishnu's service. So that is her natural position. So if wealth is utilized for the Lord, Lakshmi Devi is pleased and she will stay. Otherwise, Lakshmi is chanchal. She is here today and she'll be somewhere else tomorrow. That is the difference between Ravan and Hanuman. Ravan wanted to enjoy this energy, this potency, this pleasure potency of the Lord, the Lakshmi Devi. Whereas Hanuman was a humble servant of Lord Ram, and he said, whatever Lord Ram wants, that is what I'm going to do. And he went on searching for Mother Sita, and he was the one who came back with that amazing news of discovery of Mother Sita, the message from Mother Sita, and how Lord reciprocated. Lord embraced Hanuman. So that is how we see that if we engage our wealth, how we can give charity for Krishna conscious purposes, because there are so many things that people want to do to help humanity. They want to give food, they want to give education. What about spiritual literacy? What about letting them know that they are not this body but spirit soul, solving all their problems once and for all? So that way, this is the highest humanitarian work. So this is where we need to support. So if I cannot do myself, then I can help those who are doing this. So this is the highest form of charity. We can do that. And apart from that, if we have some skills, if we have some abilities, that can also be used in Krishna service. There are so many volunteers who are trying to help us in StudyGita, some with the videos, some with editing, some with some content, some with different kinds of services. There's some with music, right? So they are all trying to use their skills and abilities in Krishna service. Control of senses. So we saw there were 3 steps. One is to perform the duty in a detached way, offer the results to the Lord, and third was control the senses. This is probably one of the most popular questions that are asked, and some of the most popular answer. There are many. For more than a decade, we have been conducting this course. One of the first questions that I ask people is, what is the goal of your life? Mostly, I get only one answer: money. Money is honey, and money is never enough. So this is what I want more. I want more. So that is the kind of response we usually get. Why? Because people are thinking that way. So we have a beautiful cartoon there. There is this young man who's running after money. He wants wealth. He wants wealth. And towards the midlife, hair has fallen off. Some money is in hands, but he's still running for money. And by the time he has accumulated the money that he wants to, or he may not have, but the life ends. So which means if our senses are not controlled, if our senses are not under control, we can never really progress in spiritual life. So this is a very important section for all of us. And sense control, we are discussing under the 4 pillars of dharma. Now, like a table, if you think of a table, there are 4 legs. Similarly, dharma is also rested on these 4 pillars of dharma. Now, dharma is not man-made. It is not that somebody designed, that you or I decided, okay, these are the 4 things which will be the pillars of dharma: mercy, truthfulness, austerity, and cleanliness. It is not that I have decided. It is Lord who has decided. This is laws of nature. They are not man-made. So we have to accept them, that these are the 4 pillars of dharma. If we break nature's law, they will break us. See, if you break land's law, the police and the justice department gets after this. Some people are able to manage that also, right? They may not be perfectly implemented. The laws may not be perfect, but when it comes to nature, the laws are perfect. Their implementation is also perfect. So here we cannot have any debate. So these are the 4 pillars of dharma, and we need to understand what these 4 pillars are all about. So mercy means, as we can very clearly understand, mercy means that we should not put others in anxiety. We should not put others in pain. So if for my own enjoyment, I'm putting others in pain, misery, and anxiety, then I am being merciless. Next is truthfulness. So for truthfulness, I need to first of all know what truth is. If I know the truth, then I can speak the truth, and then I can act according to it. So absolute truth is given in Bhagavad Gita. If we know the principles of Bhagavad Gita, then I know the truth. I can speak what is true, and I can act in that way. Third point is austerity. Austerity means sacrificing short-term happiness for long-term happiness. Austerity means that I will not pollute my senses, my mind, because I need my senses and my mind to advance in spiritual life. So I cannot let them get polluted, get distracted. And fourth one is cleanliness. So cleanliness externally, we need to be quite clean externally. As some would say, cleanliness is next to godliness. And also there is inside, the internal cleanliness. So we'll look at this, that these are the 4 pillars of dharma and how these pillars are broken. So if these pillars are broken, which means if we break these pillars, we become adharmic. So there are 4 pillars. The first one is mercy. That is broken when I give pain to others for my own sustenance, for my own living. So meat eating. So if I kill animals for my survival, for my nutrition, and the kind of pain that they experience, I am responsible and I am answerable for that pain. What pain I cause, I must myself bear it in due course of time. So violence destroys mercy, it destroys compassion. Truth. So truth is destroyed by falsity. And who could be more false than one who engages in gambling? So gambling has various forms. Not only that, one has to go to casino. There you can find people on the roadside who gamble. There are apps on which you can gamble online, trying to get something for nothing, right? Trying to cheat, trying to fake, right? Gambling is all about that, and that is what destroys the pillar of truth. Austerity, we discussed that we should not pollute our senses, and that is destroyed by intoxication, because once intoxication of any kind is taken, it clouds the clarity of a thought process. It makes it harder to remember God and do His will. And that's why you'll notice that those people who drink, they have no control over their tongue. What comes to them, they speak, and it becomes it is a huge roadblock on the progress of a spiritual life. And then finally, cleanliness. So external cleanliness, we all understand. Internal cleanliness is all about sex life. If one engages in illicit sex, because sex is considered to be the highest pleasure in this material world, it is also the most distracting. So if one wants to engage in sex, it is recommended in scriptures that one marries and one engages in sex within marriage. Sex outside marriage is considered illicit, and that destroys the pillar of cleanliness. If we follow dharma, dharma protects. This is the one thing that we need to drill in ourselves. If I follow the law protects. If I break the law breaks me, that breaks us. So that is why we need to understand these pillars of dharma and follow them. It's a very simple maths. There is no calculation required. Lesser the sins, lesser we suffer. And that is how we can continue to be like a lotus leaf. So that was the first section, very, very important. We next move into the 3 doers, which is from verse number 13 to verse number 16. These 3 doers, because any activity we do, there are 3 personalities or individuals or entities that are involved, and we will just look at that. And this is introduced by this verse number 13. Sarva karmani manasa sannyasyasте sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. When the embodied living being controls his nature, mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. So here, like in the previous section, Krishna gave the example of a lotus leaf which remains in water, but it is not touched by it. So like if we practice Krishna consciousness, we can remain in this material world, we can progress in spiritual life, but not be affected by the world around us. Similarly, Krishna is giving another example here of the city. And this body is compared to a city. So this is one of the 3 doers. The whole section is about 3 doers. One of the doers is this body or the material nature. So whatever one has decided to do, if one decides to do for pleasing the Lord, then he resides happily within this city of 9 gates. From the 2nd chapter itself, we understand that we are not this body, but this body belongs to me. I am spirit soul, this body belongs to me, and this is compared to a city of 9 gates, and we can see there are 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 eyes, 1 mouth, genitals, and anus. So these are the 9 gates of the city. We see that the top 4, the 4 things on the top, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth, they are situated on the upper part of the body, and it is for our breathing, for our speaking, for tasting, for watching the form in the material world, hearing, and these are all knowledge gathering senses. And then we have genitals and anus, which are engaged in two things. One is excretion of all the waste, and second is for procreation, for procreating child. So that is what is used. So this is the Navadwara. It is like a city. Krishna calls it a city. Like, or we can also compare it with a room which has door and window. So there are different openings in the room. So soul in pure consciousness, if it is in Krishna consciousness, if it understands that I am this body, I am not this body, I am spirit soul, then it resides in the city without any trouble. So let's look at quick 5 facts about this city. What is the purpose of this city? What is the purpose of this body? It's a facility to enjoy. This facility is given. So in this body, when I'm there, I can taste with the tongue, right? I can experience the taste because I have this body. I can experience fragrance. I can experience music through the ears. I can experience beautiful forms through the eyes. So this body is a facility given to me to enjoy. And what is the nature of this city or of this body? It grows and runs without my control. Now, this is very, very interesting. You see that this couple is very happy, really broad smile. But we see what is wrong with them. They're driving, but their eyes are closed. So that's the situation of a body. When the father impregnates the mother, sometimes the mother does not even know that she is impregnated. It's only a period of time that she realizes that, yes, I am pregnant. So what happens? So the mother may visit the hospital or the doctor, and the doctor may say yes, may give some precautions, what to do, what not to do. But ultimately, if you see that the child, the embryo grows on its own, it is again arrangement of the Lord, arrangement of the nature. The child grows and grows and grows, and one day it comes out, and we say the child is born, and we say that the body of the child continues to grow. The teeth will come, and then the teeth will fall. And it is then new set of teeth will come, and we'll see much later those teeth will also fall, right? So whether we want or not want, there are changes in this body. When the child grows up, the male body, gradually there will be hair which will come out of the face, the beard and the mustache. Whereas if there is a girl child, there will be different kinds of changes in the body. There are different kinds of hormones that come at different ages. So and when the body continues, the skin begins to wrinkle, the hair begins to gray, and they begin to fall off. So this body is not under our control. If we want to also, we cannot control. Of course, we can maintain, preserve it for some time, but beyond that, it works at its own schedule. Next, important fact about the city or this body is, why do we keep changing them? Why do we keep changing bodies? Because we are chasing happiness, but we are not chasing in the right way, the right direction. We think like this beautiful cartoon, we can see what we are chasing and we can see what is our destination. So chase doesn't end, the body ends. So Krishna has to facilitate. Arey Baba, this person is looking for this item. He could not get in the previous body. Give him the next body so that he can continue the chase. Constant chase for happiness. City itself is temporary. The body is temporary. The body will perish, but the chase will continue. So that's another fact about this material body. What do we get in between the changing bodies? Between the birth and death, what do we get? We get miseries. As we understand, everything in this material life is miserable. There are diseases which we cannot escape. There is aging process which we cannot escape. Finally, death is something which we cannot escape. And in between this time, there are also various ways. So for example, I just ordered the latest phone, and it was giving so much of joy. And in few months of time, somebody else got a next higher model. By this time, my phone stopped giving me happiness because somebody else has something better than me. So it could be a phone, it could be a house, it could be a job, it could be the promotion, it could be the some incentive, it could be the profit. Like this, we see this pandemic time, there are certain businesses which they had to just shut down. They just could not continue. We have restaurants, we have the travel industry, the tourism industry. They had suffered so much, and still there were some industries which were making enormous amount of profit. right? So there is constant misery and of course some happiness, but this happiness is also short-lived. It comes and then it goes away. We do not really have happiness that spans beyond this body. So Krishna himself describes this material world as dukhalayam, ashashvatam, a place of misery and which is temporary. So how do we expect to get anything else? Let's look at the next fact. How do I acquire this body? Well, it is based on what I desire, and there are some beautiful, instructive, not beautiful, very instructive pictures. We see that somebody who's very lusty may go to a lower form, because this human form, one cannot engage in lusty activities beyond a certain limit, but animals animal body may be better adept. Or if somebody does not really regard in terms of what he likes, whatever comes in front of him he takes, so then this human form is not fit for that. Then the body is accordingly allocated, which he can continue his desire of eating whatever he wants. Well, if somebody is little pious, and then he can of course enjoy on higher planetary systems, and if somebody is engaging in spiritual activities, well, he goes back to the spiritual world. So based on our desires, we get a particular body based on what we deserve. So if I have big desires but I do not deserve, how do I get it? So based on my previous activities, if I have enough punya or pious activities, I'll get better forms. If I have very sinful activities, I may have very great desires, but I may not get that. I may get a very sickly body or a lower form. So that was the first doer, the body. We come to the second doer, the soul, the jivatma. Well, what does it do? It desires happiness. It's very simple. The spirit soul, it desires, wants happiness. He understands he has no connection with God. He receives a body to fulfill his desire. In that body, to fulfill his desire, he may act sinfully or he may act piously. And based on that, he will get reactions, and he gets into this illusion that I am this body. I am this body. So if for example, I stay in Chennai, and if I were to say, I am Chennai, is that an intelligent thought? No, I'm a citizen of Chennai. I cannot be Chennai. So I stay in this body. I'm not the body. So this deep-rooted ignorance is of the Jivatma or the soul, unless it comes in touch with the Supreme Lord, which is very, very difficult to remove otherwise. And third doer is Super Soul or Paramatma. So who is this? He's the one who supplies all the ingredients for the city. So we have this body, the gross body, subtle body. He supplies all these ingredients. Krishna gives more detail about this in the 7th chapter. So here Lord is the supplier of the ingredients. He's the source of the spirit soul. So now you look at yourself. If you have a mirror, just look at yourself. We see the body supplied by the Lord. We are the spirit soul. The source is also the Supreme Lord. So the body and the soul, the Lord is source of both. So what does Lord do? He disposes our applications. Man proposes, God disposes based on our karma, our previous activities, what is due for us, and what do we desire now. So based on karma and desire, man proposes, but it is the Supreme Lord who disposes. So this whole process we have given in these few slides so that we can understand I am not the only doer. What do I do? The whole thing that soul does is it desires. When it desires, the super soul considers that desire. Like for example, if you stand next to a flower, what we can do? We can experience the fragrance of that flower. Similarly, the super soul is residing in the heart along with the soul, and it knows the desires of the soul. So Lord will sanction depending on karma and depending on the desire. So super soul will sanction, and then the modes, the material nature will fulfill the desire of the living entity. So that is how there are three doers involved, not just only me. So next time you want to take credit of any activity, please remember this slide that you are not the only one. What your role was, that desire. Beyond that, everything was put in play by the Supreme Lord and executed by material nature. So if we see inequality in our life, there are rich and then there are poor, there are powerful and then there are powerless. There are people who are healthy and then there are people who are sickly right from birth. There are those who are very beautiful and then there are those who are not so. So this inequality is nothing. We cannot blame anyone except the result of our own choices. And laws of nature are very, very stringent. These are some very powerful life lessons. They have the potency to change your life forever. And that is why please keep all your ears and eyes open. Laws of nature are very stringent. So be your own policeman. Be your own policeman, because unless we police ourselves, we'll end up breaking these laws, and nobody else will suffer. It is I who has to suffer for that. I created my destiny. Already there are things which are rolling in my life, but Gita helps me rewrite, because I did not have this information. I did not have this wisdom. I was not so wise. But Gita is not just a book of knowledge. It's a book of wisdom. By reading it, I become wise. I become not just intelligent. Wise is a much better word. So I created my destiny, but Bhagavad Gita one which will help me rewrite it. And this is what we are discussing in these sessions of Gita Made Easy. Next, these are series of life lessons for whatever we have discussed. This is the nichod or the essence of what we have discussed. So Lord is blameless. He acts only as a facilitator and as an advisor. Otherwise, Lord has nothing to do with. So don't blame the Supreme Lord. Like, for example, there is a criminal who's brought to court, and the criminal says, "Sir, I am sorry, please excuse me." What would the judge do? Judge will assess his crime and he will find him guilty. He'll put him into jail. So if the criminal thinks, "Oh, judge has put me into jail, judge is very bad, judge is my enemy," is judge the enemy? No. It is the criminal who created his own jail term. So next time something happens wrong with us, we do not put blame on God. God is blameless. He acts only as a facilitator, depending on our desires, depending on our karmas. He just facilitates our desires. And he is an advisor. As an advisor, he is giving us the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. It is up to us to take advantage of that. And when we get this beautiful, amazing knowledge, what happens to us? We develop equal vision, which is discussed in the 17 to 26 verses. Let's look at this beautiful, amazing, very famous, popular verse. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shopake Cha Pandita Samadarshinaha. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater. So a humble sage who knows this knowledge of the three doers, what happens to him? He develops equal vision. Whether it is a learned, gentle Brahmana, or a cow, or an elephant, or a dog, or a dog-eater, all of them he sees with an equal vision. Why? What does he see? What happens to his eyes? He sees that, yes, the outer covering is different. This covering is of a dog. This outer covering is of a Brahmana. This outer covering is of a cow, or an elephant, or a dog-eater, whatever may the case. Inside is the spirit soul. Inside is Lord Paramatma residing in their heart as well. So his vision changes of this whole world and of whomever he sees. So this equal vision, what is the effect and what is the implication? We will look at these coming slides. So effect, one can see very clearly the three doers. So this person can very clearly see the three doers. There is an external body which is a result of the desire. So if there is a soul who's in the body of a dog, we understand that he made some wrong choices. Based on those choices and based on that desire, so karma and desire, he has got the body of a dog, right? So we very clearly see the three doers and see the presence of the super soul in every living entity. So what is the implication on our own self and on seeing others? This is huge. One, we become equal in happiness and distress, because we are very clear, I am not this body, and whatever is happening to this body is not really happening to me, because I am not this body. So if there is respect given to me, I am same when there is some insult which is given to me, because everything is being given to the body. Oh, sir, you are so beautiful. Oh, sir, you are so bad. Well, everything is related to the body. It has nothing to do with me. So I'm equal in happiness and distress. I'm naturally tolerant because I understand that I have got this body is diseased, this body is not so good, or this body is very beautiful. Everything has to be tolerated, the good or the bad, because it is the result of the choices that I've made in the past. I cannot blame anyone. All I can do is I blame myself. So I tolerate whatever is happening. So there's good happening, I tolerate that. If there is bad that happens, I tolerate that as well. And I develop genuine kindness. So I do not hate anyone. I see everyone is a recipient of my gentle or is a recipient of my kindness, right? Because Lord resides in everywhere. Every living entity is a spirit soul, and I must help. If I can help them realize their true potential, that they are the eternal living beings, they are servants of Supreme Lord, if I can help them with that connection, then actually I am the most kind person. And I give up. Next point, I give up unrealistic expectations from myself and others. Yes, because I know I'm infinitely small. I'm imperfect. So when I am imperfect, others are also imperfect. And because all of us are imperfect, so my expectations also become real expectations, not unrealistic expectations. And I, in general, develop a very peaceful existence. My existence becomes peaceful. There is so much that is going on, begins to settle down, because my vision, my understanding of the reality has changed. It has evolved. It has come to the real platform. And what is the implication in seeing others? The real brotherhood. Now everybody, we see there is so much of conflict around us. Some of the biggest conflict that we see is between ideologies. There is capitalism, there is communism, there is huge differences in ideology, and there is a conflict. Then we see conflicts between religions. There is these, we have different religions in the world, and there are religious conflicts all the time. Almost on all the different continents, there is difference. There is this conflict based on religion, right? So when I have this vision of the three doers, when I look at anybody, I see the spirit soul, I see the Supreme Lord. That's a time when I can understand, oh, Supreme Lord, and all of us, all these spirit souls are actually sons of God. That's the time when I develop real brotherhood, and I perceive everybody as a temple of the Lord. Right? So these are the implications on seeing others. And then Krishna talks about the Ashtanga Yoga. Well, he just speaks two words. This is a preview. So what Lord is talking about, and of course we'll see in the next session on chapter 6 about Ashtanga Yoga. So we understand that the goal, actually the Vedic goal used to be that how to conquer death. That was one of the mainstays of Vedic times. So Vedas talk about how we can conquer death. So one of the ways was that I can get mukti, and the process is Ashtanga Yoga. So the process was that I will restrict my senses, because senses are unrestrained, then they will distract me from this path. I'll restrict the senses, and when the senses are restricted, the mind becomes calm. And when the mind is calm, I can meditate on Paramatma. I can meditate on the Supreme Lord. So this is just a very basic understanding of Ashtanga Yoga. We will see it more in the next session. And now we come to the last section of this chapter, that is a peace formula. The verse number 29, the most amazing verse. Krishna is going to give the definition of God, right? Krishna is going to talk about himself. So let's enthusiastically welcome this verse, a very famous verse. And those of you who are interested, you can memorize this verse. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachati. A person in full consciousness of me. Here Krishna is talking about himself. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. The one who knows these three things about God, what happens to him? Attains peace, from the pangs of material miseries. You remember in the first session, first chapter, we discussed Adi Devik, Adi Bhauti, Adhyatmik, problems coming from nature, problem coming from other living entities, problem coming from my own body, from my own self. So here Krishna is saying, one who knows this definition, one who really understands this, he attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So this is a very, very simple thing. No God, no peace. No God, no peace. Well, English is a funny language. So one who knows God actually in reality knows peace. One who does not know God, peace cannot come to him. Peace will constantly and eternally avoid him. Like we say, somebody dies, we say rest in peace, rip. Arey Baba, whole life he could not have peace. How will have peace in death? So we have to be peaceful now if we really want to be peaceful after death. So that is something which is for contemplation of all of us. So Krishna wants us to understand God in this way. So there are three qualities, three things that we need to understand. Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. First quality. Second, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Third, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam means that any activity that we do, any religious activity, any yagya, any austerity that we do, which is prescribed in the scriptures, it should be done for pleasing the Supreme Lord. Number one. Number two, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. So here it is mentioned that all the planetary systems, all the planets, all the stars, who's the owner, who's the proprietor? It is the Supreme Lord. Maheshwaram. So there are many, many controllers. It is not that this whole universe is just running around on its own. No, there are different planets, different stars. Everything has a controller. All these controllers, Ishwaras, are controlled by Maheshwaram, by the Supreme Lord. So this is what Krishna is saying. And finally, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna is the dearmost friend of all living entities. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, all the living entities, Krishna is Suhridam, he is their best friend. Well, when somebody is very rich, he has so many friends. What if he loses his fortune? How many friends will go and take care of him? That is something we have to reflect. But Krishna will continue to be with a living entity despite he changes from one body to another. He may have a body of a king. Later he may get a body of a pig. Krishna will continue. He will not leave him. That you didn't listen to me. You wasted your life. Now you have entered a lower species. I will leave you. I'll abandon you. No. Krishna says, I'm your dear friend. You don't want me, but I'll continue to take care of you. That is what Krishna is. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. So let's look at these qualities in a little more detail and then we will wind up to this session. So Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. So Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. As I said, whatever religious activities that we plan to do, whatever mentioned the scriptures, do that only with one purpose, for pleasing the Supreme Lord. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Offer everything in the transcendental service of the Lord. So like I've seen this. There was this very amazing personality. He was a lawyer. He was visiting our temple in ISKCON, Chennai. And I still remember it was many, many years back. The temple was still not constructed. And we requested him, why don't you help us with the flooring of the temple? This devotee, he was an amazing person, you know. So he said, yes, I will do this. In the first shot, he said, yes, I will help you with the flooring of the temple. And then he went to the deities and then he prayed to them. And then he had tears in his eyes and he said, oh Lord, you have accepted me as your servant. You have allowed me to do this service to you. You have accepted my wealth. And he had so much of gratitude. I've seen people when they have a new car, for example, they'll come to the temple, they'll offer the keys to the pujari to offer it to the Lord. I've seen young couples come to the temple, they will bring their marriage card, the first card, they'll give it to the deities, that we invite you for our marriage. I've seen devotees who run businesses, big businesses, they, in their consciousness, they're very clear that the boss is the Supreme Lord. And every day when they wind up and the day's business proceedings there, they actually offer it to the Lord as one would do to his boss. So offer everything in transcendental service of the Lord. That is how we understand. That is how we practice Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. So if I think I am the enjoyer, that is what will bind me into the cycle of action reaction. So Newton discovered the laws of motion. Well, they are the laws not of Newton but of nature. So if we do karma, pious activity, or if I do vikarma, both are binding, right? If I do akarma, then only I become free from the bonds of karma. So if I think I'm the enjoyer, definitely I will enter into this cycle of birth and death. I can never escape. So if I simply accept Krishna as the supreme enjoyer and I serve him, I will naturally become as free as the Supreme Lord. Next quality, definition of the Lord, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, that he is greater than the greatest. No one is greater than him. There's this discussion, who is this? Anybody greater? That yes, so and so greater is, and so greater is than him. But Krishna, nobody is greater than the Supreme Lord. Supreme proprietor of all planets and all demigods. Demigods means devatas. There are many devatas, like we have many ministers in the government. There is a universal government of the Lord, and all of them are devatas, and Supreme Lord is their proprietor and controller of all the planets and all the devatas. So this is another definition, quality of the Lord, of Lord Krishna. So who are we? We are just temporary owners. Before I was born, this property was here. After that, I wrote my name. The property papers bears my name. But before I was born, I was not the owner. And after I will go away, this property will go to somebody else. It's like train journey. We have a reservation. We enter the coach. And then we look at the guy who's sitting at our seat and we become upset. Hey, I have a reservation. Get up and get lost from here. This seat is mine. And I will, express my possession over the seat. But the moment the destination comes, what happens? There is so much detachment. We leave that seat there and we go away to the destination. So same thing happens. We have some wealth, we have some property, we have some relationships, and we are so much attached and we put tags on them that these are mine, this is mine, that is mine. But then a time will come that I will leave everything and go away. So we are just temporary owners. Krishna is the real, original proprietor, and he'll continue to be that. Finally, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Lord is the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. So this is so beautiful, huh? Whereas somebody is in a dog body or animal body, or he is in a bodies of people may have different religions, but Lord is residing in all of their hearts. So it is us who have divided our world into friends and enemy. This is a friendly country, that is an enemy country. We have divided communities, that this is a friendly community, that's an enemy community. We have not forget about communities. We have divided our own family between friends and enemies. Sometimes we consider a family member to be a bigger enemy than the neighbor or the man on the street. So it is all within that we have created that, but it is the Lord who is the well-wishing friend and of all the living entities. So he is my well-wishing friend. He is also well-wishing friend of even my enemies. Even those whom I consider my enemy, Krishna is their well-wisher, right? So that is the beauty of the Lord, and that brings us to this very interesting life lesson. If everyone is Krishna's friend, then how can someone be my enemy? Everyone, Krishna considers them as his friend. So how can those who are friends of Krishna, how can they be my enemy? So it's an amazing thought, and we need to process it. And then we see that how we become so peaceful, how those feelings of enmity for a certain person, for a particular community, for a particular country will just vanish and will go away from us. So with that, we come to the end of this particular session, to the end of the 5th chapter. I would really like to know how knowing the three doers will change your outlook of life. So there are two things which I've requested you kindly write in the comment box. One was talking about the 4 A, B, C, D of spiritual life, how you'll implement, which one will you implement. I suggest that you implement all the 4. How you're doing, please mention in the comment box. And knowing these three doers, how does that change your outlook? So please mention in the comment box down. I'll be very, very grateful. Well, if you have any other questions regarding this particular chapter, if there's any comment, I'd really love to read that. I'd really love to read, and I will respond to that, interact with that, and you will receive the responses. What we're going to discuss in the next session, this is a preview of the next session, how to control the mind, What happens if one is unable to attain perfection? Which is the best yoga process? So these are the 3 questions that we will explore in the next session. So with that, I take your leave. Thank you very, very much. Hope you check out the StudyGita.com. It has a lot of courses. And we also have a quiz and class notes, the notes for this session as well as the quiz, which is available. You can visit StudyGita.com and you can attend those quizzes. For these quizzes, the links are either given in the description box or it will be shared with you in your WhatsApp groups. So please attend the quizzes. It will help you consolidate the knowledge that you have learned. So thank you very much once again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.